Happy Friday afternoon, Ayla. I didn't even realize it was a long weekend. Is it this weekend? Is it a long weekend
Yeah,
where you?
it is. Yeah, we just changed in BC a few years ago so that we align with the rest of the country.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it is in the States as well. So thanks
Yeah.
for being available to do this on a long weekend. Obviously, you and I aren't going anywhere today. But for those of you who are traveling, maybe you could watch this on the road and have a lovely, some powerful insights. But I'm really excited to be here with you today, and yeah, just because there's just so many cool things happening for you. You had an amazing year last year, and like we were just talking about, you so many other things on the go, right? So before we get all started, because I usually just get so excited, I just dive in. I'd love to give you the opportunity to tell everybody who you are and just share a bit about what you do in terms of your practice and some of the things that you're passionate about, some of the things that you're working on, whatever you want to tell us.
Sure. Um, Hi, everyone. My name is Ayla Salen. I'm a lawyer in Kamloops, BC. I practice at a law firm called Fulton and Company, and I run our workplace law and our sports law groups. And so in the last year, I've been working with Cheryl in terms of the thinking into results and the quantum leap materials, and really transitioned from a place where private practice was burning me out, where I wasn't at my optimal self, to being in a really cool place and doing some really cool things, which I'm sure we'll get into down the road. I'm also a student. I have a master's in progress right now, and I'm a mom of two wild children. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. How old are your kids?
Julian is 7 and Sage is 4. Although today Sage told me her name is Rainbow Dash Sunshine. So that's her
Oh,
name today. Yeah.
oh, I love that. Rainbow Dash. I would like to be called Rainbow Dash
Yeah.
Sunshine. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So a mother of, two young children,
Mm.
a partner in a law firm. We were just discussing this thing about private practice, like, it's kind of, there's, I guess, different terminologies based on, like you said, what province you're in or where you're in. And also doing a master's. What are you doing the master's in?
It
Yeah, I don't know if I remember this part.
it's a part-time master's and a work in progress in labor and employment law from Osgood.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. So that makes sense based on some of the things that you're, some of the
Mhm.
programs and the things that you're working on and that you're really passionate about. I know that, you know, you're really passionate about, helping companies, improve the culture in their organizations. And I know because that's something that we have in common, right? We're just
Mhm.
kind of doing it from different angles. But do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. I mean, I guess I'll backtrack. It makes sense to kind of talk a little bit about where I was a year ago. But private practice in a law firm is typically a billable hour where, I was primarily a trial lawyer where I'd be helping businesses who were getting sued for something and trying to problem solve from that point forward. Um, and it's fine. I'm good at it, but it just wasn't filling my cup, and it wasn't satisfying that piece of me that was actually wanting to improve workplaces. Right. I have an HR background before law school, and it was a place where I just saw so much more potential. And so part of the work that we have been doing have been kind of thinking that creative piece as to how to do things a little bit differently. And really, since that mentality switched, it's just been, like a trajectory that's been unbelievable to be a part of. So what I do is starting to work with companies kind of from the core out. So whether it's culture or actual legal foundation, how can they improve their workplace, which in turn filters out and helps helps people as a whole. And that's where we started, and that's since transitioned to continuing to do that, but also branching out into for sports organizations and really doing the same thing at sort of the high performance athlete level. And so, yeah, that's what I'm
Mm.
passionate about and love doing, and
Yeah.
where we've gone.
I love it. And like even when I think about that, like yeah, we're doing the same thing, like that high performance mindset, that high performance culture, that just getting it is just really shifting perspective and looking at things differently, right? And just so that's why I think that we have so much fun together because we're both passionate about the same things, but in coming from different wheelhouses, right? And I love what you said about like once you got into this work, how it just unlocked your creativity. And I hear that a lot with people who come in and they start doing this program, and just even after the first lesson, they I hear it all the time. Something just unlocked in me. Something just unlocked in me, because we all have this amazing, all of this amazing these ideas and this genius within us, right? But it typically gets suppressed and squashed down when we're just sort of like trying to fit into that box that we've been conditioned to fit into, right? So when I think about where you were when you started, like maybe tell us a little bit about that, because I know there was some burnout. I know there was like a lot of things going on. So when you think about like where were you when you started compared to where you are now? Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, sure. So I think you were probably the person who actually told me that what I was going through sounded like burnout at the time. And as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, this has been my last 6 months. So for kind of from mid 2022 until April, when I started working with you in 2023, I was overworking. There's certain pressures in law, and like I had mentioned, there's the billable hours. So the only way you can achieve more or show a trajectory of improvement in the corporate culture is by putting more time into things. Um, and being a mom of two young kids and having competing priorities between my personal life and my work life, was really weighing on me. And there were like my son was going through health things. I had just completed a trial where I was working 19-hour days. Like it was just it was enough. And I was doing my master's. Like it was enough, right? And I noticed a shift in myself at that point where I wasn't happy, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't exercising. I kept feeling like I had to put more time in. I wasn't myself, right? Like I was in a place of um, suppression. Everything was I was taking everything on. I wasn't, it wasn't great. And something needed to shift. Something needed to give, because it was either going to be I was quitting my job, right, blowing that all up and figuring something else out, or making a change. And I connected with you, and the first time I met you, um, immediately I thought, okay, this is going to be more work for me. Like this pressure of how am I going to do more when I'm already overflowing with pressure and stress. And I took a bit of a leap of faith, because I thought, something has to give, and if I don't know what that's going to be. And ultimately I started doing this work with you, and what I noticed very quickly was, I had to create boundaries, and I had to create points that would allow me to thrive, and be able to achieve, like, I don't really know how to describe it at that point, but it was sort of just like initially I started to notice like I'm not doing things right. I have to rethink how I do everything. And this program gave me the tools to do that. Like it really did. So fast forward, going it didn't even feel like slow steps. It felt like immediately you talked to me and you're like, okay, let's look at your ideal schedule. What does that look like? When are you fitting in your creative time? When are you fitting in your family? When are you fitting in this? How are you going to, in your creative time, now start thinking about how am I going to generate the income that's putting kind of, or the billings and the expectations? How am I going to manage that within this whole framework? And we really worked hard through that, and it's been transformative. Is the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, I love it. Was it hard or was it easy? I don't know. Did it feel hard?
The work. Yeah, I mean, hard is that's not the right word. It was important work, right? Like, and so it didn't feel hard in terms of, when you have to motivate yourself to do something that's dragging you down. It wasn't that. It was always from a place of motivation, right? It was always the next step. But it required so much, and still requires so much self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and that's hard, right?
Mm.
That's new for not
I think
maybe
it's
not new, but it's a journey, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's hard because people aren't conditioned to do it, right?
Yeah.
We're always just in reaction and we're just like sort of operating on autopilot in a way. You wake up, you get up, you brush your teeth, you go make a coffee. Like everybody's just sort of operating in autopilot so to do something in a completely different way that requires a shift, right?
Yeah.
And a different perspective. And it can be that as simple as that, just understanding that if I actually do this, and I take this time and I make myself a priority and, I set the stage for the day, because I'm always saying to people, you want to start the day getting into the right state of mind, taking care of your body, and what's going to feed my soul today, kind of thing, right? We don't do that. We do it backwards. So just making that shift can get you back into alignment. And when you're back in alignment, you're accessing your strengths, you're living your values, you're more purposeful, you're more passionate about the things that you're doing. That's really what happened for you. Mm-hmm. Is you went from that reactive state and burnout and, just go, and, which led to lack of fulfillment because you weren't having fun and you weren't really enjoying it, to just learning how to do, think in a different way, feel a different way, act a different way, in which case you got different results, right? You got more time, you got your time back, you got your creativity back, you're much more fulfilled. You're making more money than you've ever made, right? Like all the things, right? Yeah. You're having fun. All the things are there. And it's just, like you said, you had an amazing year, but you're just getting started, really, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I said before is I feel like we could do this interview a year from now, and I can't wait to see what's happened in the interim, right? How we've grown. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it really is about growth and expansion, right? And I think you said something that was really key for this because, this work is available for everyone. And I truly believe everyone needs to do this work. I really do. I mean, I'm not just saying that because, it's what I do. I believe everyone needs to do this work. And that's how I got on this journey to helping others because I started doing this work for myself. So, but it's not necessarily, it's for everyone, but it's for anyone, but it's not for everyone, in the sense that not everyone has the desire. You need to have the desire for more, right? You need to have the desire for either, something's just not working for you and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. So you have to pull, the desire from in there to have, I'm sick and tired of this. I want more. Or, things are going well. Life is good. Things are going well. But deep down inside, they could be better. You're capable of more. There's more in there. You just haven't been able to figure out how to pull it out of you, kind of thing. Yeah. Right. So I think that piece is really important because if it's sort of, if you're in that comfort zone, you're kind of stuck in bondage, you're not really growing. And this is really all about I believe that's why we're all here, is just to grow and expand and evolve into our highest and best versions of ourselves, whatever that looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've had all this amazing success. I mean, I know you're typically like, not shouting it from the rooftops, but come on, let's shout it. Like, come on, tell us what you've done.
Well, okay. So, you said my biggest financial year. I was the highest billing partner in my firm. It's the highest I've certainly ever billed. That's all like check, yay. But what means so much more to me than that is, one, if you looked at where I was in April, I was reflecting on this. If you looked at where I was in April, I was not on track to do this. And I had no desire to, I was just grinding away and putting my time in. And with you, I was able to break through a mold that had been holding me back. And I see it happen a lot for lawyers, is this idea that if I want to achieve more, I have to put in more time. I have to work harder, to keep working harder. And that didn't resonate with me. And it's not to say I don't work hard. It was just, I had to work smarter. I had to bring in the creative piece, it's my entrepreneurship. It's my creativity that I thrive on. And I had to bring that and figure out how to make these two worlds work together. And so with that, we created new structures and new products for, my clients. And the reality is that not only do I think I'm a better lawyer for my clients, giving better advice and actually making bigger changes in their workplaces and supporting them in exactly the way that I want to be supporting them. I'm also a better wife. I'm a better mother. I'm a better friend some days, but I'm better to myself, right? It's been this amazing transformation. So when we say, to circle back to this incredibly financially successful year,
mm-hmm.
Since April, it's been done with flow and with ease and with enjoyment and fun and excitement in terms of the next step. And so I'm always now kind of in this process of like, my vibrations are high. The next steps, I can see it. I'm working towards it. It's exciting, right? That's the difference for me. And that's the stuff that when I want to show from the rooftop, it's like, this is fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And, like you said, that, vibration, the excitement of what else can I do? What else can I do? Not what else can I do? What would I love? What else would I love? What else would I love? What else would I love? And I know that, again, this is where you and I are so in alignment. And I think that's a big piece of it. Like, I love, obviously, it's important to me to work with people who, we're co-partnering and we're in alignment in terms of why we're here and what we're doing, right? But you have such a strong desire to, it's almost like, we talk about preventative medicine, right? To be proactive and to help companies set things up in a way that they're not dealing with fires and they're not dealing with employee problems. And, the employees are happier, the employers are happier, everyone is creating that psychological safety space and cultures that people want to be a part of. So that's, what I love about what you're doing is you're so creative with these programs and these things that you're putting together for companies that are really going to make an impact and change the way things are being done. Because I know, I think, corporations are being called to look at that, to be able to provide value to their employees in a way that makes them want to stay. Because, especially with the newer generations, they don't want to stay. They don't want to do it. And so we have to get more creative. And I love how, you're just, like you said, just getting started with that in terms of how can we make it better? How can we make it better? And as you do, the money just becomes a byproduct of all of that, right?
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So what would you say is different about this program? I don't know if you've done any other coaching before, or if you've heard of other people who have done programs. What do you think, makes this program different than other things out there?
Yeah, and I've done business coaching before. I've done practice development and worked with top coaches in Canada in terms of my practice and the development and the ideas. But they never really went anywhere. And they're good ideas, and I came up with plans, like physical documents. Here's my plan of how we're going to do stuff. But what I liked about this program was, and maybe this was my fear when I came in, I said there was extra work. Like the other stuff I did was just extra work that I had to fill out these ideas and think through the business kind of products. Whereas this was a transformation of me as a person, which I made those changes to how I responded to things, to how I saw how I set my goals, how everything about me shifted in this program, which opened myself up to the actual success that I knew I could be achieving. Right? It's kind of like if you have somebody who's overworked, and then you say to them, okay, now I'm going to need you to build a business plan in addition to being overworked in what you're doing. And the reality is when do you have the time? When do you have the space to do that? Which is exactly what I needed. And this program gave me that permission in a way. Like I almost had to do that for myself, to say, no, I'm letting this go for now so that I can figure this piece out. And it was fast. It happened way quicker than I expected. And it was just this transformation in terms of thinking and recognizing, my the limiting things that I was telling myself and pushing past that, because there's so much more than what my limiting beliefs are and those kind of things, right? And so that was a big difference for me. It wasn't so much just the business side, because it is, and we've done a lot of discussion in terms of my business development and ideas and different, here's the next step of what I'm working on. But in addition to that, it was that piece of saying, giving myself the permission to do it, right? I can do that. Yeah, there's no reason. Why not me?
Yeah. And that's because you learned how to shift your thinking around it, right?
Yeah.
And, I always say 95% is mindset, 5% is strategy. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset, it doesn't work. So, what I also love about that is so important, I think this is so important, is, because we are conditioned to look for the answers outside of us, externally. We're always looking externally for the answers or the solutions to the problems, right? Mm-hmm. And because that's how we've, been programmed, right? Go to school, do a course, read a book, all the things. But it's about the application of it, really. And that's kind of where, why so many people with MBAs and professional degrees are not having the kind of success that they want, because they're looking externally for the answers. And it's really about going inward, right? It's about the inner work. You can't get different results with the same mind that created the existing results. So what you're really saying there to me is, I did the inner work, which shifted everything, and shifted how I was thinking, shifted how I was feeling, shifted how I was acting, which got me different results, which allowed me to do more easier, more effortlessly, more creatively, more consistently, right? Because when I think about it, we haven't even been working together for a year. It hasn't even been a year. Yeah. And I mean, I just got chills thinking about that. Partner, lawyer, master's, mom, and creator of this big, beautiful thing that you're building, right? That's pretty cool. And I know you had some fun in there too.
Yeah.
So So that is powerful. I mean, because I was talking to somebody earlier about, my new the group I'm launching for leaders and professionals, and it's very small investment. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's a small investment, but there's that belief of, people aren't used to investing in themselves, right? They're used to maybe their companies investing them, or things like that. So when you think about where you were when you made that investment, because I know that was a big leap for you too, right?
Sure.
When you made that first initial investment, and the return that you've gotten on it, like, what would you want to say to those people who, haven't, gotten their head around making that kind of investment in themselves?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's not like walking into a store and then having that immediate gratification when you walk out of the store with your new purchase, right? I'm holding up like a purse, but that's what I think of, right? Like just this idea of, I'm spending this money, now I'm getting this product and I get to look at it. And so there's that instant gratification. It's not like that. But it's so much more valuable than that. And why, it doesn't wear off. That rewarding feeling for me, at least. Like it was funny because I said yes before I even thought about it. Like I agreed to it with you before I had time to have my brain kick in and say, like, are you sure this is what you want to be doing? Right. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to do it, right? Like you have to do it. I look at it and I think about, the progress that I've made along it, the value that I receive participating in a program with you, who has, sees things about me and pushes me along, right? That investment is huge. In addition, have connected me with other like-minded people, right? I've been part of some pretty cool meetings with individuals or with groups with you, where you're in a room with people who are all achieving, and it feels like a safe place to tell people, like, oh, you want to hear the big things I'm working on right now, and having people push you along, right? I mean, I read, I don't know, 700 business books a year, it feels like, but I'm constantly reading on this stuff because it just fills me. And the thing you hear over and over again is, like, you have to surround yourself with those like-minded people. And that's not always easy to do, especially when you see this ongoing growth. So it just has created that support network for me. So to answer your question in terms of the investment, I mean, the investment pays me back like hundredfold. It feels like, just from the connections, the growth I've seen, the ongoing growth, but also the support network that I have and the permission that I have from like-minded people to keep pushing. Right. And I love that.
Yeah. Keep pushing, keep dreaming. It's so true. We're so conditioned to invest in, get a mortgage on a house, or get a car, lease, loan for a car, or get even student loans, right, to go to university. But we never were conditioned to invest in ourselves, and we are our greatest asset. I mean, nothing happens unless, it comes from within, right? So all you need to do is, if you look around and you're not happy with results, you got to look within and see what's going on there. And that's the most important work. And I also love what you just said about, sometimes, it's just you're paying for the people in the room. I mean, I want to believe it's like, I know it's more than that. It's the material. It's, my, 20 plus years of experience as an expert in the science of human behavior. It's all of it, but it's also the people in the room, right? Yeah. Who are all, doing this work and thinking in a certain way, and, cheering you on and inspiring you, right? Yeah, you want to do that? Yeah, I could see you doing that. You could totally do that. No one's ever going to tell you in this community you can't do something, right? Yeah. That's really important, because we often have that around us, where people, kind of bring their own paradigms into the conversation. And that can be a little tricky. So, I mean, I think personally, it's the best investment you can ever make. I know what it was for me. And I just see, like, it's a minimal investment for the sort of, even the financial ROI people are getting in terms of doubling, tripling, 10xing their incomes, right? And I do remember that month where you set your goal in October. I think, it was like, that was a transformative month for you, because you set a goal to bring in 100,000 in revenue, but you did it by the 11th. And then it was like, so what do you want? Do you want to do more? Do you want to do more? Yeah, let's go for it. And then every time I talked to you, it was like, oh, I did that already. And I'm like, what? So just having that, that person to, cheer you on and go, okay, let's keep going. Because a lot of times what happens, I think, when people set these goals, is they hit it and then they stop. Right? But no, okay, you hit it. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing. Let's keep expanding. Let's keep, evolving. That's the fun part, right?
Yeah. And you look at those targets. I mean, I was reflecting on, you're like, these are what you're supposed to do. I'm a lawyer. I had an undergrad. I wrote the LSAT. I went to law school. I practiced. I articled. I practiced in a law firm for X number of years. Built a practice. Became a partner. Great. I'm 36, 37 years old at that point. Now what? Now I maintain that, and that's not fulfilling for me, right? I didn't feel, I was like, hey, what's my next step? How am I growing? How am I growing my business? It doesn't have to be the steps. I don't have to have a different title, but how am I growing this business? And so you're absolutely right, is that it's you were so conditioned, but when you open yourself up and you're like, but what do I love? What do I want to do, and what's going to fill me? How am I going to keep moving forward as a person? And in turn, I believe that if you're living your best self, you're contributing your best self to the people around you and the world around you, right? So that's been really cool. And I'll add, just in terms of the work itself, is that I would never be able to be in the room talking, making the bold statements that I make in terms of how I want to, where I'm growing and where I see my growth, if it wasn't for doing the actual work and working with you through that. Because you know as well as I do, and this is still a work in progress, that when I think big, I have big ideas, but for the longest time when I reflect on myself, I reflect on it small. Right. Yeah. And that's been a battle for me, in like a tug of war, in a sense, of those limiting beliefs of the small Ayla versus, but I have the tools, the ideas, the network to be way bigger. So, that shifting. So being in the room with those people, I've already done a lot of the work to be able to use the words and understand, oh no, this is just me playing small. Right.
Yeah. Well, small, safe, right? And I think a lot of people are out there just living in the safe zone, and they're just capable of so much more. And it doesn't take that much to pull it out of them, if they're willing. They're definitely capable. We're all capable, right? If we can think it, we can do it. If we come up with an idea, we can bring it into the physical form in some way or another. It's just, I think that's where people get stuck, is they don't know how, right? And I think this work is the how. I don't think it is. I know it is. It's, in my opinion, it's the keys to the kingdom. You have this, you can accomplish anything that you want, because it's a repeatable formula for anything, right? And that's what's so beautiful about it. So I love this. So what would you love to tell people who are thinking about doing this work, or struggling to get their head around investing in themselves?
Well, like you said, what did you say? It's everybody can benefit from it, but not everybody should do it. I don't remember, but the thing exactly. But what I mean by that is, for people who are at a point where it feels like I can achieve more and I want more. And there's something in there that needs to come out. This is absolutely something that they should be investing in.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Um, you know, I just look at it and I think what a wild ride it's been so far. And how much how much brighter my fire already burns for the stuff that I'm doing when I didn't think it could, right? Um and so it's been really cool. So what would I say to people? I'd say do it. It's not even like taking a risk. Just do it, because investing that time in yourself is gonna do so much more for you in life.
Mm. And not, the money is great. Like you said, like,
Yeah.
I mean, my clients have, doubled, tripled, quadrupled, like turn their annual incomes into
Hmm.
their monthly income. Crazy stuff with money. That blows my mind every day. But it's the impact. It's the impact it has on your family. It's the impact it has on your kids. It's the impact it has on your coworkers and the people around you. It's everything, right? You're really just amplifying your health, your wealth, and your happiness when you're doing this work. It's not just like boxed into one, area of life. I believe that when we do this, everything flourishes, and we're happier in all areas of life. So I asked one person once. She said, "I'm happier than I've ever been." And I said, "Well, what's that worth? I mean, come on, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're always trying to rationalize the money piece, right? But in my opinion, it's like low investment, high return, all the way around. So, so it's just crashing through that, whatever belief we have around that, because we all have our money programs, all of us,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
just understanding that, you the transformation is the thing, right? And yes, you have to be willing to do the work. If you're not willing to do the work, then
Yeah.
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 But
The only thing I'd add is that, at least my experience has been, interestingly, the work has been, um, hasn't felt like work, right? It's not things that are adding to my plate. It's um, forward momentum, progress, and growth. And that in itself is so valuable, to have
mm,
these tools to be able to look at you and your life and say, where can I go? Like, honestly, I'm every part of my life, whether it's the team that I work with at work, or my kids, or my husband. Like, I'm just, um every relationship I have feels way more rewarding, because I just have a different perspective on things.
mm.
And that is that balance. And when we talk about kind of the flow, the ease and flow of which things and the progress is happening, is so valuable and worth it. And yeah.
And you take that into your clients'
Yeah.
environments too, right? And what an impact, that enables you to
Mhm.
make with them. So they're lucky to have, someone like you in their corner. And I know you've got all these cool new things going on that I'm sure we're going to hear more about on LinkedIn. So I'm going to put your LinkedIn, here too, or whatever you want me to share, so people can follow you. Because I know you've got lots of cool things that you're putting out for companies and
Mhm.
sports organizations, and I know that this is just the beginning anyway. There'll be more. So you're right. We're going to have to come back in a year
Yeah.
and do this again. But thank you so much for sharing your experience and your story and inspiring others, because I'm sure someone is watching this and really connecting with it. I think a lot of professionals, a lot of women, men too, right? It's not just for women, are connecting with what you're saying. So I hope you have a great weekend. I know
Thank
you're
you. Happy long
cleaning up
weekend.
your office, yes, and have some good fun time, good reflection time, good time for you, and thanks for sharing. I really appreciate, and I'm so excited to continue the journey with you. So let's go, let's go.
Yeah. Let's
Love.
go.
Okay. Bye, Ayla.
Bye.